The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation. Make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels. Operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Snohomish, Washington, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34304. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation of your new vehicle. Let's start just under the front bumper. On the passenger and driver's side frame rail, 2 open-ended tow hooks. Moving up onto the bumper face, you'll find dual air horns on the passenger and driver's side. Moving toward the driver's side, you'll find your electronic siren. Moving up into the bumper extension area, you'll find your tubbed storage location for your front bumper hose and also a swivel discharge. Moving to the headlight structure, housing low and high beam headlights. High beam is on the inside. Moving out to the outer edge A-pillar, you'll find a marker turn indicator. Back into the center area where we're going to find our, just above the headlights, we're going to find emergency warning and turn indicator. Let's take a look at some close-ups. Here's underneath at the very bottom showing the open-ended tow hooks. Moving now up to the siren, PA speaker. Moving now into the tubbed storage area, you'll find dry deck material and also a swivel 1.5-inch discharge. Moving now to the headlight structure, emergency light, and also turn indicator. Let's take a look at the driver's side vehicle of the cab. First, starting with your front axle, you'll see a sight gauge located in the front axle for your wheel grease. Moving to the bumper extension, you'll find emergency warning light side facing. You'll also find in the step well on the driver's side a air inlet. Let's move upward onto the body where the doors are located. The door handles are accessible with a gloved hand. They are also key lockable. You'll also find grab handles at all points of entry for gaining access in and out of the cab. Moving to the center, directly over the front tire, is where you'll find your auto eject plug. This is a 20 amp auto eject plug and indicator light. Close-ups here of the front bumper extension with that side-facing emergency light, marker light. Let's move now into the step well where we'll find our air inlet. Just underneath each of the doors going in and out of the cab, you'll also find perimeter lighting just underneath the running board. Let's move now to the auto eject. Once again, 20 amp auto eject plug. You also have the indicator light directly above the plug. Let's move to the driver's door panel. You'll find all of your warning information on all door panels, but I would like to point out this yellow placard. This is the manufactured by Pierce for your department. This placard has the date of manufacture, 5-digit job number, gross vehicle weight rating, cold tire inflation, the VIN number, all of your fluids and capacities for your vehicle. Let's move now into the driver's space. First, we'll start as we move into the driver's space with this seat. There are comfort controls on the air ride seat. You'll find that just in front on your left-hand side. Moving toward the right side of the seat is where you'll find the front to back lever. As we move to the floorboard of your apparatus, let's identify a few basic items. First, starting brake treadle on your left. Moving to the right, you'll find your accelerator. As we move up to the left-hand side, you'll find all of your about knee height master battery switch, your ABS, transmission, engine diagnostics plug. You'll also find all of your DPF and engine regen information switches in the switch panel just below the master battery switch. As we move over to the right side of the steering column, you'll find your pump shift. It is an air pump shift. There are instructions on the pump shift. Go from road to pump and from pump to road. There are 2 green indicators indicating that you've engaged the pump properly, pump engaged, and OK to pump. To the right, you'll find your mirror control for convex and flat. Moving up now to the left side of the column, you'll find your ignition and start. To the right, you'll find an EM switch, which stands for Emergency Master. It will engage and disengage all your emergency lights. Headlight switch, and to the right, your panel switch, allowing you to brighten or dim lights within preview of the operator dash area. On the steering column, you'll find your tilt and also turn signal. Moving up onto the actual cluster, you're going to find your transmission, oil, DEF level, and water temperature on the left side gauges. On the right side gauges, you'll find front air, rear air, fuel, and your battery. Moving to the left, you'll find your tachometer and speedometer. Diagnostic information will display above and below the speedometer. Let's move just to the right of the operator's area, first starting with this push button and also rotating knob. This is your windshield wiper control and also push to apply windshield wiper fluid. We have a switch panel down below for engine brake on and off, a settings for low, medium, and high, siren horn switch, your electronic siren, mirror heat, and load manager. Moving down to the left, the yellow diamond is your pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. Moving to the right is your Allison transmission pad with a digital readout. As we move to the upper right, you'll find your climate control for heat and defrost, air conditioning, and heater. Let's move back down to the pump shift. Those are the two green indicators I previously mentioned, pump engaged and OK to pump before exiting the cab for pump operations. Let's move down to the right where you'll find your main mirror and convex mirror controls. Back up to a close-up here of the climate control system, heat defrost, heat, and also air conditioning. Let's move overhead of the operator. We'll find a few switch panels located here at the very top. These are your emergency warning lights, starting on the left with emergency master, roof light, front warning lights, side warning lights, lower rear warning lights, and upper rear warning. When any of these switches have been activated, the green indicator light within the switch will illuminate. Let's move further to the right where you'll find your siren control and PA speaker system. Directly in the center of the apparatus, we're going to find a red LED indicator. If illuminating, do not move your vehicle. You have a compartment or door open. You'll also find your air conditioning vents. As we move to the door panel in the rear, once again, you'll find all of our safety and warning information. As we move to the hinge side, you'll find a red grab handle for gaining access inside and out of the cab. Let's take a quick preview inside the cab. We have two rear-facing seats with SCBA brackets and also two forward-facing seats with SCBA brackets. As we look overhead in this space, you'll find the rear air conditioning outlets, also push on and off white and red lights, and at the very base of the engine at the rear is where you'll do your daily checks, lift and turn the latch. You'll find your oil and transmission. Let's move to the pump panel area, first starting at the very top section left where you'll find your pre-connects. We have the number 1 and number 2 1.5-inch pre-connects, and then also moving to the right, a 2.5-inch pre-connect. Moving just to the right is where you're going to find some grab handles for gaining access to the top of the vehicle. On the right wall side sheet is where you'll find all of your fold down steps. There are 4 to gain access to the top area. Let's go ahead and move to the pump panel where I identify a few items within this area. First, starting on the left, this is the minimum operation maintenance schedule and test pressures for your job number 34304. As we move on the left-hand side, you'll find the 150, 200, and 250 test pressure. On the right-hand side, you'll find the associated RPM with that test pressure. Down at the very bottom, we're going to find a governed speed of 2390, and we also have an indication the pump will be in 4th gear direct. In the gray module, we're going to find our master intake gauge. Moving to the right, we'll find the master discharge gauge. In between the two of those is the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They currently have plugs, and these are for testing purposes. As we move down, we'll find the pressure throttle governor. In the upper left-hand corner, if illuminated, it would be yellow in color. It is the check engine light. As we move to the center, we have a digital readout for the RPMs. Moving further to the right, we have, if illuminated, a red stop engine light. Moving downward, we have an orange menu button, which will allow you to scroll through the various functions of your pressure throttle governor. Located in the center, you'll have diagnostic engine information, and to the right, you'll find a red silence button, which allows you to silence any audible alarms that may be sounding from the pressure throttle governor. As we move to the left, you'll find pressure and RPM. Pressure mode or throttle position, those are the two modes you have to operate your pressure throttle governor. Located in the center, information will display here digitally, and to the right you'll find a throttle ready. It is a green indicator. Just beneath that you'll find a green preset button, which allows you to preset pressure or RPM. Down at the very bottom you're going to find your throttle, right to increase, left to decrease, push in the center for idle, And to the right, you'll find an audible alarm. The outer edge of that bezel does allow you to dampen the sound by simply turning. Moving just to the right, you'll find an additional switch panel housing panel lights and pump engage indicator, which is green. As we move down, we'll find our crosslay valves, crosslay 1, 2, and the 2.5-inch crosslay. Moving just to the right, you'll find your deluge discharge, front discharge, and driver's rear discharge. To the right, you'll find an OK to pump indicator light, and you'll also find your fire pump primer. It is a push to prime. Just beneath that, there are instructions for enhanced priming at least 1,000 RPMs for best practices. Let's go ahead and move down and to the left side of the pump panel, where we'll find the number 1 and number 2. These are both 2.5-inch discharges. Moving to the right, you'll find your green large diameter passenger side discharge. The wheel has an open and close indicator 12:1 ratio. Moving further to the right, you'll find an LED water tank level indicator. Moving further to the right, you're going to find your engine cooler. To open, turn to the left. To close, turn to the right. Just beneath that, you'll find your tank fill recirculating line and also your tank to pump. Let's move down into the next section down the lower left, where you'll find the number 1 2.5-inch driver's side discharge. As we move to the right, you'll find your large diameter pump intake. It's behind the Pierce logo American flag eagle. As we move down, we'll find our 2.5-inch auxiliary inlet. This is a female inlet ball valve. Moving further to the right, you'll find your pump drain, and then at the very bottom lower right-hand corner, you'll find your manual pump shift. Let's go back and identify a few items within this area. First, starting on the left, once again, the number 1 2.5-inch discharge. As we move just downward from this location, you'll find all of your color-coded discharge drains, which are labeled. As we move to the right, I have a few items here I'd like to talk about. Once again, large diameter pump intake. As we move to the left, we're going to find a pressure warning hazard. Caps may be under pressure. Be cautious when opening them. As we move further to the right, you'll find this placard for your minimum operation maintenance schedule. And as we move further to the right, you'll find your driver's side auxiliary inlet. This is the 2.5-inch ball valve. As we move further to the right again, we'll find this warning label that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, and only after they've received proper training. Down to the right corner is where you're going to find your pump drain. This is the main pump drain. At the very bottom, you'll find your Wattros placard indicating your capacity of 1,250 GPM, and to the right, your manual pump shift. Let's go ahead and take a look at the body now. We'll identify a few items within this area, first starting with a marker turn indicator that's just in front of the rear axle. As we move upward from this location right over the rear axle, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. I'd also like to point out at the very rear, we do have a 360-degree emergency warning light at the very top. Let's take a look with the compartments in the open position. First, we'll take a look at the SCBA bottle storage. There are 2 in the forward and 2 in the rear. They're also housed in that same compartment, the blue DEF tank and the silver ultra low sulfur diesel. Let's take a look first, the blue cap, 4.5 US gallon DEF tank. That's the blue cap. As we move to the rear, you'll find the silver ultra low sulfur diesel. Once again, directly in the center is that side-facing emergency warning light directly over the rear axle. Let's take a look in some of the compartments. We do have roll-up compartment doors and LED lighting inside, adjustable shelving in the front compartment. As we move to the center compartment, and then to the very bottom underneath this area is where you're going to find your wheel, Alcoa rims, Goodyear tires. And as we move to the rear compartment, you'll find LED lighting, adjustable shelf, and also a through compartment in the very rear. At the very rear of the apparatus, you'll find mud flaps on the rear axle. And let's go ahead and take a look at the entire side of the vehicle, but we'll really now focus in on the rear section of your apparatus. Starting just underneath the rear of the apparatus is where we're going to find perimeter lighting, one on each side. We'll also find directly in the center a tow or attachment point, and moving up from that, you'll find clearance lights. There are 3 of them located at the very rear section. Let's go ahead and identify a few items within the upper section, first starting with the emergency light, brake light, turn, and reverse light. Just above that, you'll find some warning information here. You should always face the vehicle while climbing, and always not climb on the vehicle or ride on the vehicle while it's in motion. Let's move upward to the very top section where you'll find that emergency warning light, and then at the very top section, you'll find the rear work or scene light. Let's move back down to the center where you'll find the center compartment, and you'll also find two fold down steps, one on the left and one on the right, and then also steps on the left hand side and also a rear discharge. This is a 2.5-inch rear discharge. As we move up to the very top, you'll find once again that rear work light, and then also across the very rear section you'll find two hose dividers for your hose bed at the very top section. Let's move down to the right side now. We'll identify once again that step and roll-up compartment door in the center. Inside the roll-up compartment is a adjustable shelf and also that through compartment. As we move to the pan door on the right, the handle will gain you access to your ladders, 24-foot extension, 14-foot roof, and then at the very top we'll find all of our long-handled pike poles and a 10-foot folding attic ladder. General view here of the side of the vehicle. Same three compartments on the body of the vehicle in the rear. We'll go ahead and take a look with those compartments in the open position. Very similar layout inside, LED lighting. We have a rear shelf in the rear compartment and a front shelf in the front compartment. Once again, both of those are adjustable. As we look to the SCBA bottle storage, we do have 3 SCBA bottle storage with retaining straps in the rear axle area, and then also we have 3 in the front axle area. Just beneath just above the rear axle, we're going to find the side-facing emergency light, and then also you'll find your Alcoa wheels and Goodyear tires. As we move to the front section, I would like to point out a couple of things. SCBA bottle storage, but just beneath that you'll find that side marker light. You'll also find a warning label in this location. This warning label is indicating that extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures while your engine is running. Be cautious where you park your vehicle with the exhaust tip. Let's go ahead and move to the mid section of the apparatus. We'll start at the very top. These are your crosslay compartments, labeled crosslays 1 and 2, and then also the 2.5-inch crosslay. Let's move down from this location where we do have a pan door to gain access into the pump panel area. It's a lift and turn latch. As we move to the right, you'll find your cab lift. We'll go over that in just a moment. Let's take a quick peek inside behind the door. Let's go ahead and move now to the cab lift. Let's start first with some caution and danger information. We also have cab lift operating instructions to raise the cab and to lower the cab. There is a protected switch here which can be lifted into the raised position or lower position, and then to the right is the activate switch. When returning the cab to the lower position, make sure you push and hold the activate switch for 5 seconds, ensuring that the cab is locked. As we look into the next access location, you'll find your internal relief valve. That's the setting screw, and then just above that you'll find your foam drain. Let's take a look now. This is your large diameter pump intake on the passenger side, American flag, Eagle, Pierce logo. As we move to the right, you'll find your large diameter passenger side discharge. It is the green label. As we move to the right, you'll find the orange number 3, 2.5-inch discharge. Just some close-ups here of the items we just talked about. At the very bottom section is where we're going to find all of our color-coded and labeled discharge drains. Quickly up into the dunnage area is where you're going to find your master stream device location. As we move to the cab itself in the front, let's start at the rear section of the cab on the passenger side. Underneath all doors, you'll find all of your perimeter lighting. Let's go inside into the rear section of the cab affixed to the door panel. You'll find all of our safety and warning information and also the grab handle to gain access inside. As we look inside the cab area here, we'll find those 2 rear-facing seats. You'll also find at the floor level area on the hinge side a grab handle for gaining access, and in the very center your access point for daily checks for oil and transmission behind the lift and turn latch. Your seats do have the capacity for SCBA storage in them in both the rear facing and forward facing. As we look to the very roofline area, you'll find your air conditioning and air conditioning vents. Here are the 2 center mounted forward-facing SCBA seats. As we move to the forward officer space on the passenger side affixed to the door panel, all of our safety and warning information. On the A-pillars where you'll find the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. And as we move to the floorboard area in the officer area, you'll find a foot pedal which will access your electronic siren. Let's take a look at some close-ups. This is the fill location for your windshield wiper fluid. Underneath the officer's seat, we also have a storage location. And then the actual officer seat itself does have SCBA bottle storage within the back of it. Let's move to the forward section of the cab. On the left-hand side of the officer position toward the center is where you'll find your air horn push button. Just beneath that, you'll find a 12-volt USB style access point. As we move overhead, you'll find all of our switch locations and also future equipment mounting locations, and then also a push on and off red or white light and seatbelt information indicating red, someone is in the seat and not belted, green, someone is in the seat and belted. Congratulations, Snohomish, Washington, on your new Pierce fire apparatus, job number 34304. If you have any questions regarding your vehicle, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Thank you and congratulations.